negociatash dhe përpjekjesh është arritur që t'i shpëtohet jeta këtij të riu 27 vjeçar, I cili megjithatë tentonte të vetvritej.
Është munduar diçka me arrit me vizë me shkoj dikun jashtë me punu.
Though tragic, this case should not be taken as an indication of the general situation in Kosovo. Very few Kosovars attempt suicide, and even fewer do so as a result of receiving a negative response to their visa application. On the contrary, Kosovo continues to be a very optimistic country with regards to its European future, despite the fact that it is emerging from conflict and still undergoing a process of state building more than 10 years after other former communist countries. In fact, Kosovars are consistently the most pro-European citizens in Balkans. According to research undertaken by Gallup in 2009, 88.4% of Kosovars support their country joining the EU, only slightly down from 88.8% in 2008. The case shown at the beginning of the documentary demonstrates, however, that while every third Kosovar who applies for a visa is rejected, they are not merely a number. He or she is an individual, with personal experiences and expectations. Those who are rejected generally have legitimate and strong reasons for wanting to visit Schengen states, and thus also have good reason to feel bad after being refused. They feel so because they will not be allowed to visit their children or their parents, because they will not be able to study abroad, as so many other young Europeans are able to, because they will not be able to do business with any company within the Schengen area, because they will not have the opportunity to spend summer or winter vacations in places where so many others can go, or because they cannot see for themselves the European perspective that they are so often told they possess by local and European officials. Yet despite the fact that they are the most often rejected applications in the whole of the Balkans, their optimism for Europe remains the highest. Is this a paradox or something else? Until 20 years ago, as citizens of Yugoslavia, Kosovars were able to travel freely anywhere in the world. Those citizens who remember that time have seen a huge regression in their freedom of travel. Now, the citizens of Kosovo can travel to only 4 countries without a visa, while their country receives guests from every country of the world without a visa or a need for their friends and family to provide letters of guarantee. In this way, Kosovo is the most open country in the world, even though its citizens face significant challenges and obstacles when trying to visit the majority of countries in the world. Data gathered by Henley & Partners, a private company that records data concerning global movement restrictions, shows that Kosovo has the greatest number of limitations placed on it with regards to the freedom of travel. Henley & Partners assessed that the most isolated country in the world during 2009 was Afghanistan, since its citizens could travel to only 22 countries without visas. Kosovo was not included in the study, but it is simple to conclude from their research that since Kosovars can travel visa-free to just 4 countries of the world, they are in fact far more isolated than Afghanistan. Indeed, citizens of Iraq are freer than Kosovars, as they do not need visas for 23 countries, while Somalis can go to 25 countries without visas. Further, the study undertaken by Forum 2015 in 2009 highlights the additional specificities of Kosovo's case. For instance, Kosovars pay the highest visa costs in Europe. A short-stay Schengen visa costs about 120 euros. These high costs relate to the fact that consular services are often not provided in Kosovo, even though almost all of the countries that have recognized Kosovo have now opened their embassies in Pristina, and even some countries that have not recognized still have liaison officers present, for example, Greece, Slovakia and Romania. As a result, Kosovars often need to travel to Skopje, Belgrade or even Tirana in order to apply for visas to enter certain countries. The same situation facing Kosovars that want to travel to Schengen countries also applies to those seeking to travel to neighboring countries. Of 10 countries in the Balkans, Kosovars can travel visa-free to only 3. They can travel to a further 4 when holding a Schengen visa, and they can travel to Croatia only when in possession of a Croatian visa. However, Kosovars cannot travel at all to 2 countries in the region, Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, which do not recognize the Kosovo passport. The research undertaken for Living in a Ghetto thus elucidated a further troubling fact. Some citizens of Kosovo are completely unable to travel to the countries of their family's origin. The situation mainly affects Bosniaks, though it has also an impact on a number of Roma and other Kosovars that are equipped with Kosovo travel documents but who have family in Sandžak, Serbia, or in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Od prije 2 godine, od kako je Kosovo proglasila nezavisnost, građani naše zemlje ne mogu da putuju u Bosnu i Hercegovinu. Znači, od kako su počeli da se izdaju pasoši, to svi znaju. Međutim, to je jedan veliki problem zato što ljudi sa Kosova, među njima i Bošnjaci, ne mogu putovati u svoju matičnu zemlju.
Schengen visas issued to Kosovars are not the same as those issued to applicants from outside Kosovo. Kosovars are granted visas that are often termed Schengen minus. This means that the visa is valid only for certain countries within the Schengen area. The holder of the visa will not be permitted to any of the other states. What countries are on this list appears to change at random, often seeming to depend on the policy of the day or the individual processing visas on that day. Further, various Schengen countries issue different Schengen minus visas. This example shows that visas issued by 3 different consulates within one time frame were invalid for differing countries. The number of minus countries, that is the countries that the holder is not permitted to travel to, varies from 1 to 11.
And people were asking, of course, very obvious questions. How can it be that the European Union promises us a European perspective, that we keep hearing that we are part of Europe, that we're going to be part of Europe, that the European Union is sending a European Union rule of law mission because it believes in Kosovo, because it wants Kosovo to be part of Europe, and at the same time, it does not want Kosovars to even enter the European Union as tourists. This is a paradox. And many people felt it as such.
Kosovo Bosniaks and Roma are not the only ones that find themselves stuck in such a specific situation following the entry of Kosovo into Schengen's black list. Kosovo Serbs are also punished by this decision of the European Union's institutions.
Ja moram da kažem da svi znamo da status Kosova i Metohije nije međunarodno priznat, mislim u Savetu bezbednosti, a svakako da se ima problema i u samoj Evropskoj uniji. Ali postoje mnoga kreativna rješenja koja zaista ne treba da dovode kvalitet života stanovnika Kosova u pitanje kroz nešto što je ograničenje slobode kretanja. I zato mislim da u Briselu treba da učine napore da ovaj prostor na jedan način dobije šansu.
So we actually say that maybe Kosovo Serbs may be part of Serbia still, but they're second-class citizens at best. Because with that directorate being set up in Belgrade, and with every passport being issued only in that directorate, it was almost like writing a big K into the passport and saying, well, everybody else in Serbia gets visa-free travel, but those with that K in there do not.
One of the challenges facing Kosovo over much of the past decade is the negative image it has in most European countries and beyond. This is linked to the period after the war when Kosovo was confronted with a number of related challenges and was equipped with limited capacities for self-government. And although led by international missions, it did not successfully manage to escape this image. In Image Matters, a recent study on Kosovo's image abroad, Forum 2015 concluded that when facts are examined, it is clear to see that this poor perception of Kosovo is exaggerated. Indeed, Kosovo's performance in some areas was much better than that of other countries.
Conventional crimes, whether it's burglary, robbery, break-ins, murder, are lower in the Balkans than anywhere else in Europe. And Kosovo is no exception. On the contrary, if you look at murder rates and other crime rates, Kosovo is doing pretty well. On top of that, in Kosovo we have an almost 2,500 member-strong European rule of law mission.
Why has Kosovo been singled out in this process of combating negative phenomena in the Balkans? Aren't European integration and visa liberalization two processes that have placed pressure on the Balkan countries to address these issues? Shouldn't the vast number of international missions, including EULEX, the European Rule of Law Mission, ensure that Kosovo is in a more favorable position than other Balkan countries?
it's not right that Kosovo remains some black hole on the map of the Western Balkans, because now we have a visa liberalization free regime for the citizens of Macedonia, Montenegro and Serbia. Soon I hope we will have the same abolishment of visas for the citizens in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Albania. And I think we should not risk to leave Kosovo aside, because, you know, it's 20 years since we celebrated the fall of Berlin Wall, and now we have these visa walls in the Western Balkans.
So again, why is Kosovo sort of singled out as this particular security risk? Now, is this justified? Now, let's be real. Kosovo has a population of 2 million people. The Eastern Balkans, Romania and Bulgaria, which enjoyed visa-free travel since 2001, have a population of 30 million. The rest of the Balkans, including Kosovo, have a population of 20 million. Now, by the end of next year, everybody except Kosovo will enjoy visa-free travel. So it's about 50 million that will enjoy visa-free travel. So why is the European Union so afraid of 2 million Kosovars living here?
Natyrisht në BE ekzistojnë disa paragjykime për Kosovën, mirë po Bashkimi Evropian duhet ta ketë parasysh se duke patur më shumë se 2000 policë dhe gjykatës në Kosovë, nuk mund ta sheh Kosovën si rrezik për sigurinë evropiane apo sigurinë e rajonit. Sa të izoluar të mbeten kosovarët, aq më keq do të jetë edhe për imazhin e punës që Bashkimi Evropian po bën në Kosovë.
Citizens, however, will try to find an alternative way of entering the EU, and these ways are often illegal. Not only does this give Kosovo a bad reputation, it encourages organized crime. The tragic case in November 2009, during which 12 Kosovo citizens drowned in the Tisa River separating Serbia and Hungary in their attempt to get to the west, shows that such strict limitations on international travel may naturally lead to such tragedies and stimulate organized crime further. In May 2010, members of a criminal band involved in providing illegal migration services were arrested. They provided passage to people who wanted to take the road to the west, a road that will always be well traveled, because historically the Western Balkans are linked to Western Europe. Kosovo's isolation must have a negative impact on the daily lives of its citizens. Certainly, Kosovo's students and businesses are the most affected by this isolation. These two categories of persons, which have a unique opportunity to bring much-needed development to this country, are simply unable to flourish when they hold a passport that entitles them to only visit 4 countries without a visa, and when they face a serious risk of being refused a visa to many others. It is very difficult to estimate the economic consequences of this, but it is clearly extremely serious.
Kohëve të fundit kërkesat më të mëdha për dalje jashtë janë të gjeneratës së re, për studime, të vizitat punës, biznese të ndryshme.
Some would say that should the Universal Declaration of Human Rights be adopted today, in the current era of globalization, then the numerous restrictions on people's freedom of movement could be viewed as a violation of human rights.
Dhe ajo që ka është më shqetësuese, kemi pas raste kur biznismenve elit, themi në Kosovë, ju është mohu e drejta për vizë duke thënë se nuk keni para të mjaftueshme, ndërsa në dokumentacionin e kërkuar nga ambasada e caktuar Schengen e ka dëshminë se posedon kontot bankare më tepër se 1 milion euro. Dhe vërtet kjo është diçka paradoksale.
The reasons for rejections are wide and diverse, and form part of the applicant's assessment process. However, they can also be standard and even banal. Either way, they hamper the potential for business.
Një refuzim, mu që mu ka bo, që unë e konsideroj një jo e kulturuar prej ambasadës gjermane, ka qenë kur ata kanë kërku, kur mbasi që i kom kompletu unë të gjitha dokumentet, ata prej me kanë kërku që unë t'ju sjellë atyne gjendjen bankare të atij partnerit në Gjermani. Gjë që unë, t'ju them sinqerisht, më ka duk absurde.
Kosovo students often find themselves excluded, hoping to receive an international scholarship for study abroad.
Kemi marrë biletën të mendu se viza do të na bëhet, kur kemi mendu që ftesa pi Vatikanit edhe plus asaj ta kemi papën, nuk kena mendu që mundet me refuzu një vizë, edhe nuk është na që kem të partë që po udhtojna në këtë mënyrë me këtë organizatën, po jena konë hera gjenerata e 3 ose e 4.
Indeed, Kosovo students attending studies abroad are advancing very well, and everybody in Kosovo agrees that they are the young elite that will lead Kosovo forward.
Bashkë me mua që kanë fituar këtë bursë për të vazhduar studimet postdiplomike në Lyven, janë edhe 9 kosovarë të tjerë të cilët janë duke i vazhduar studimet. Dhe profesorët atje në masë të madhe janë të kënaqur me nivelin e studentëve nga Kosova, dhe deri tani të gjithë kanë arritur suksese të mëdha dhe nuk ka ndonjë dallim të madh me studentët të tjerë. Dhe të gjithë nga këta studentë që kanë fituar këtë bursë, të gjithë do të kthehen në Kosovë.
No doubt, Kosovo has a European future. It is a European state. This is the most often cited paradigm since the 2003 Thessaloniki summit, which marked the confirmation of the Western Balkans' European future. But even when our neighboring countries began to enjoy the first concrete results, we continue to hear the same old chorus, that we should not worry, since our European future is guaranteed.
But then really, and that again I think is a paradox when one looks at the case of Kosovo, it was really the independence of Kosovo that triggered the next big phase. And that was because the European Union was very concerned about the reaction of Serbia to the imminent declaration of independence that everybody expected in early 2008. So in January, at that time, Franco Frattini, Commissioner for Justice and Home Affairs, traveled to Belgrade and promised visa dialogue, promised a process whereby visas would be lifted eventually for Serbia.
The main concern for the EU was a process of readmission. In return for agreement on these issues, it offered a visa facilitation process to the Western Balkan countries. So, what are the issues that are preventing Kosovo from becoming part of the visa liberalization process?
The status issue is not connected to the visa policy issue. This is clear from things that like the fact that the EU is negotiating visa-free travel with Taiwan, a country that hasn't been recognized by a single EU member state, or by things like the fact that Kosovo has been put on the blacklist. If Kosovo can be on the blacklist, then it can also be on the whitelist. Unfortunately, EU foreign ministers did acknowledge that when last December they agreed to a visa liberalization process for Kosovo. So that means that they have acknowledged that although 5 of them don't recognize it, visa liberalization is possible for Kosovo.
However, when faced with the reality, Kosovo's government took the proactive and unilateral step of adopting a visa liberalization roadmap in May 2009, as well as an action plan for its implementation. Since this was not agreed with the Commission, there will not be any monitoring or assessment of Kosovo's progress.
Është inkurajues më shumë në këtë drejtim fakti se ne kemi inicu dhe kemi bën disa veprime të njanshme, siç e dini vitin e kaluar kemi në mënyrë të njanshme kemi kemi nxjerrë një udhërfys dhe kemi bën një plan veprimi me të cilat dokumenta ne kemi fokusuar angazhimet e një varg institucionesh për të realizuar kriteret teknike që duhen të realizohen karshi procesit liberalizimit të vizave, duke marrë modelet e vendeve fshinje, pa asnjëherë të kyçur zyrtarisht në këtë.
I think they can help, and they already help, because the Kosovo government adopted a unilateral roadmap already last May. The roadmap is basically modeled after the roadmaps that the other countries had. And it is already putting in place strategies and adopting laws that are required under the roadmap. And most of these laws have been discussed with ULEX, and ULEX gives advice. So such a role is of course important, and we think that the EU should use ULEX to help Kosovo implement the roadmap.
In the area of security of documents, considerable progress has been achieved in functionalizing the Civil Registry Agency. Over 70% of civil registry books have been digitalized, and over 90% of registry offices now have internet connection. A feasibility study for advancing the biometrical document system has been finalized. Kosovo Police has signed several agreements for police cooperation with neighboring and other countries. Intranet systems and database connections have been installed, in all border crossing points and monitoring center has been set up. This center monitors all border crossing points through cameras which are installed at border crossing points and connected to the monitoring operational center. What do politicians and integration experts from Brussels and Pristina think?
Kosovo must get a roadmap because in a few months it will be the only country without visa-free travel in the region, so it will be completely isolated compared to its neighbors. And already now the situation is very bad. There are only 5 countries to which Kosovars can travel without a visa. So this must change. If it doesn't change, it would clearly nourish anti-EU feelings in Kosovars. They would wonder why the EU is discriminating against them. And it would also be counterproductive from the EU's view.
In parallel, in a sense, we are already developing a dialogue with the authorities on defining the basic principles. So when this would need to be codified at some point, and I expect this to happen in the near future.
Kosova padyshim duhet të merr udhërrëfyesin nga Bashkimi Evropian. Nuk ekziston ndonjë mundësi tjetër për Bashkimin Evropian të bëjë presion ndaj institucioneve të Kosovës që të përmbushin kriteret pa u dhënë udhërrëfyesin dhe atë të njëjtin udhërrëfyes sikur edhe vendeve tjera.
I think it's very important Kosovo gets as soon as possible clear roadmap, that they can start working, that there is a clear perspective, because it's still a very long way to go.
Concerning Kosovo, when we discussed here in the European Parliament the resolution presented by the European Commission on this issue, a lot of MEPs were saying that Kosovars should be also included in this process.
I have been pressuring and talking to people in the Commission, telling them, please do the roadmap before the summer. Tell the Kosovo authorities what they have to do step by step. Yeah? So then it's up to the Kosovo then to do it. Yeah? But before they have the specific data on the specific benchmarks.
The best answer is to give Kosovo the same fair treatment that the other countries in the region got. The same chance to deliver on the same reforms. Nothing special, just the same chance. And that means give Kosovo a roadmap.
Today, when all of the Western Balkans, with the exception of Kosovo, is moving towards eventual EU integration, a new landscape is being drawn. Citizens of the Balkans are becoming more mobile in many ways, have never been closer to Europe. However, Kosovo remains the exception. It is becoming a black hole in Europe. An ordinary citizen of Kosovo is left with few possibilities when seeking to travel to the West. He can apply for a visa through the normal procedures with the associated risk of refusal. Alternatively, he can pay a small fortune to the criminal groups that guarantee Schengen visas or to those that will give them illegal passage to countries within the Schengen zone. Lastly, he can attempt to apply for a passport of Albania or other country in the region, as was the case with thousands of Macedonian citizens who obtained Bulgarian passports and the Bosnian Serbs and Croats that applied for Croatian and Serbian passports, or indeed the many Kosovo Serbs that secure Serbian passports. However, to do so creates a shift in the ethnic and demographic picture, a shift that is occurring as a result of the bureaucracies in remote Western capitals. Who would say, though, that Brussels should push such demographic shifts, even if only formal, just for the sake of circumventing a blockade of iron doors at the gates of the West? And when something as simple as a rejected stamp can decide the fate of an ordinary individual.
Kosovo, the young Europeans.